Ryan King is missing from Tennessee. Listen to his family's plea as they search for answers.
Yeah, I don't think he just disappeared off the face of the earth. And somebody in the Paris, Tennessee area or Murray, Kentucky area, somebody had to have seen or heard something. And if you're afraid to come forward, there's no need to be afraid to come forward. He was a good kid. He was a good young adult. He had his struggles, but he was addressing that. And unfortunately, got involved with a couple bad people, and we fear something bad happened. Like I said, he's June 3rd will be the 1 year anniversary he was last seen or heard from. So we're just kind of begging for anybody to come forward with any information. When Ryan was younger, he was just a good kid. He was involved a lot with a number of youth sports, from football to street hockey to baseball and then lacrosse. And, once he was probably around 5 years old, he didn't want to ski. He wanted to snowboard. So he became a pretty good snowboarder, and he learned how to golf. He was self-taught pretty much in anything. Um, he did really well in youth sports. When he got to high school, he really excelled at lacrosse. He kind of narrowed it down and just wanted to play lacrosse, and he did really well. He was first team all conference as a junior and senior in lacrosse, and he currently holds the all-time scoring record at Egg Harbor Township High School for goals and assists. He tried out for the Ocean City Beach Patrol, and he worked 2 summers there. And then he decided to take a job at a restaurant in the area, which is probably one of the best in the area. And he worked his way up from a busboy all the way to a server um, before he left. He spent, I think, 8 years there. That was his full-time job. So he was there year round. In the winter, they're not as busy. So the owner of the restaurant actually encouraged him, if he wanted to travel in the winter. And in the winter of 2019, he moved to Aspen, Colorado, and worked at one of the mountains there for that winter. Um, Unfortunately, the year after he graduated from high school, he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called Addison's disease, which luckily was treatable. That's where the body doesn't produce cortisol, so it has to be replaced by like a daily medication. So he struggled a little bit with that, staying on his daily meds, but if he missed a couple doses, he would feel
Definitely
lousy.
feel it.
And if he went a few days, he could end up in the hospital in the emergency room. And that started to happen as he got into his 20s. Um, I think COVID really hurt him, and probably the couple of years after COVID. Unfortunately, he's like a lot of teenagers these days and young adults and even adults. He was suffering from some degree of depression and anxiety. And even though we encouraged him to seek treatment for him, and, we had names of doctors, but he was just resistant to it.
You know, whatever has happened, if anybody knows what has happened, to please reach out. If he's any place where he can hear this, to know that we love him unconditionally. He has a lot of family that's here and wants him back, wants to help him. And that, it's unconditional. That we just want to know that he's safe. And if that's not the case, then we just want to know the answers as to where he's at so that we can bring him home and give him the dignity of bringing him home and a proper burial, to know where he is.
A couple of years after COVID, he moved out on his own, and unfortunately, um, drugs and alcohol got involved. And I think it was more to mask what he was going through with his depression and anxiety, and just to fit in with the crowd, I guess, the bar restaurant crowd, the people he was working with and became friends with. And I think it just got to be it got out of hand. He was using Addison's as the excuse, even though that wasn't really what was the reason.
When we found out that he was having a struggle with alcohol and some drug use, we got him right into treatment and he went down and he met somebody there. And that person really came across as being much more sweet and kind and caring. And he started dating them. And when he got out of treatment, things kind of were rocky, but he stuck with it. And when he went to where she lives in Kentucky, um, he just didn't realize what he was walking into, I think, and was just out of his element. And I don't know. That's my opinion. That's what I feel. I feel like he just didn't know what he was getting into. Um, Somebody knows where he's at. Somebody has to know where he's at. He didn't just disappear. He didn't just walk off the face of the earth. And we're just asking if those people or that person comes forward and lets us know so that we can bring him home in one way or another, so that he can have the dignity that he deserves. He was a very quiet, sweet, kind boy. He didn't have a lot to say, but what he said was usually monumental. Everybody waited for what he was going to come back with, and that was usually like the comment that sealed everything or that got everybody in the conversation. He was very loyal. He loved his family. He loved children, pets. He just was a sweet, kind, all around kid. Like he didn't have problems or qualms with anybody. Nobody ever, like, he didn't get in a fight with people. He wasn't an arguer. Like he just really got along with everybody. He was just a really sweet, kind kid.
I
Tennessee, right?
reported it to the Kentucky State
Yeah.
Police 2 days after Father's Day of 2025 because I didn't hear from him, text or call. And I mean, when he went to Kentucky to have this relationship or give it a go with this girl, it was against our wishes. It was against his therapist, his sponsor, his friends. Everybody was begging him not to go down there. So, like I said, I think something at that point, something snapped. I don't think he wasn't himself. And then, it was just bad from the time he went down there. He went down there in mid-April, and now that the investigation has gone on for close to a year, he was supposedly last seen on June 3rd of 2025. But we didn't know that at the time because when he didn't call or text on Father's Day, I let his mother know and she started calling his phone, and the girlfriend picked up his phone and told us that they had an argument 2 weeks ago and that she left for a short period of time to cool off. And when she came back, Ryan was gone.
I am Austin King. I'm Ryan's older brother. It's all kind of been a whirlwind, so it's all kind of been, a surprise of things, but he's still the same person that he was when everybody had seen him last. That hasn't really changed. He's still the same loving Ryan that we all knew and still do know. It's just a matter of, kind of finding where he is and kind of what happened along the way. And that's really all we're searching for, I think, is just kind of answers to the questions that we may have. Even if we don't get all of them, we just are kind of looking for a little bit more closure than what we have. We definitely think that those answers are out there, and that's really all we're kind of asking for is if anybody has any information to please relay it along. The support and the love that's been shown has already been overwhelming, and we're just asking for that to continue. And hopefully from that, those answers will come. So we really just can't thank anybody enough, and we really just hope that continues in the future. We used to surf and snowboard all the time. We would travel a lot. So, we would always chase the storms when we were here to surf. And then some of the best memories, I feel like in the pictures we have, are actually like out in Colorado. So he worked out in Aspen for a year. I think one of the best pictures that we have has like maroon bells right in the back. So that's like one of the more famous peaks and mountain ranges out in the Aspen area. We've been up to Vermont, so it was just always something that was a common ground, was either snowboarding, surfing, or just kind of hanging around playing golf. But we seem to always be together doing those things.
If you have information about this case, please call the Henry County Sheriff's Office at the number on the screen. Or you can call the Q Center for Missing Persons tip line at 910-232-1687.